Good afternoon. Are we on 4 o'clock straight up on a Monday edition of On Cue? As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We got about 2 hours to play with on this 26th of January, 2026. Hope everyone had a very good sports weekend. You're enjoying your Monday. As I mentioned, 2 hours to play with. Well, we think 2 hours to play with, but nonetheless, as always, get social with us. Very easy to do. You can follow along on IG and X at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic, Kicks, Rumble, the YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to download the AUDACY app and check out SR 1029 FM, the game, Coastal Sports Digital Network. We've got a couple announcements making the 5 o'clock hour as well. But as I mentioned, it is a Monday. And as you guys know, if you are privy to what we do on the show and you don't take it too serious, our Mondays are a Man Up Monday edition of On Cue, powered by good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon and Get Ready with Tea, and as well as our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, which, by the way, depending upon where you're at, Delaware, Jersey, PA, New York, upstate New York, Canada, the snow was just brutal this weekend. Just absolutely brutal this weekend. But again, we'll get into the little snow hazards, if you will. But on a Monday, we like to call it a lunes, Manolo Mentiroso Man Up Monday. We also like to add in the Local Door Day radio aspect to it. We call out the BS takes, picks, and opinions from over the weekend. And look, that has to do with some of my picks, my takes, my opinions as well. Now, we do know one thing. We are set for the Super Bowl. And now, whether you guys want to sit there and say it's going to be a dandy, it's going to be a hell of a game, we got 2 weeks to figure it out. I'm not going to start breaking down the freaking game right now, but we know the opponents, we know the combatants are going to be my Seattle Seahawks, because I had to say goodbye to Denver and, of course, the New England Patriots. So it'll be it'll be Seattle. I'm already thinking about poor Bo Nix. It'll be Seattle, and it'll be the New England Patriots. So you get a little rematch from a couple of years ago, the Malcolm Butler situation. But listen, I thought the games yesterday were entertaining. I thought that obviously we can dissect and debate a lot of the coaching decisions, the play calling that went in to the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game. Let's go this route. And Lloyd's going to join us in about 15, John in the 5 o'clock hour. I know there is a sentiment where you look at two games and go to the Denver game, because everyone's bitching, whining, complaining today about the weather, and the snow and all this nonsense. Look, Denver had a tough ask. They had a tough ask with a kid that wasn't Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham, right, who's only thrown a handful of passes in his career. And a lot of people felt that, even the pundits, if Denver had a shot, if Denver had a chance at winning that game, at winning the AFC Championship, their defense need to carry the day. They had to get a couple stops, and no one foresaw the weather forecast breaking the way it did. Now, all anyone's talking about today in a very low-scoring affair, New England winning it 10-7, was the failed decisions, the failed fourth down call by Sean Payton, which I'm here to tell you right now, a couple minutes past the 4 o'clock hour, it was the right decision. It was the right decision. Now, you can sit there and you can tell me all you want about analytics. We can, again, talk all day long about the analytics, okay? But here's the bottom line. In a game where, yes, you had your backup quarterback, I understand that. In a game that we saw cold become flurries, become a downpour, become sleet, become snow, in a game where you knew that possessions would have been somewhat at a premium, I had absolutely no problem with Sean Payton after Stidham slung it the second series to take a 7-0 lead. And they forced another punt, and they got the ball back and punted and got the ball back again. I had no issue, up 7-0, with Denver going for it on fourth down early in the second quarter. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because it's very easy to Monday morning quarterback. It's very easy to sit there and say, well, look how the game played out. They lost by 3. Okay, all well and good. But go back to that series and go back to Sean Payton throughout the year. Go back to Sean Payton at times throughout the course of his career. Now, Sean Payton has guys on his staff basically hired to do one job: talk about the analytics, the percentages, the optics, the play call, and then Sean Payton ultimately makes a decision. Now, I didn't like the call itself, especially with a backup quarterback, but look at that drive. They ran it for 3 yards. They passed for 7. They threw for 3. They passed for 5. They passed for 5. They had a 9-yard run, a 3-yard run, a 2-yard run, a 2-yard run, and then a 5-yard run. Now, here's my issue. On 4th and 1 from the New England 14, everyone's screaming, take the points, take the points. You got a backup quarterback. You got to take the points. No. You go for it in that situation because a 3's not beating you. A 3's not going to win you the game, but a touchdown ultimately going up 14-0 against New England, that would have been pretty much it. Now your defense can play a different game. The problem I have was the play call itself. That's the problem I have. If you're going to sit there and kind of be aggressive, right? If you're going to sit there and say that's the right decision, you don't roll out a backup quarterback. You either run the friggin' football or you make it look like a run play. You draw them into the box and then you decide to kind of beat them over the top like he did with that long game early on for the first touchdown. Well, it wasn't the pass, but the reception down the sideline. You're either going to try to beat them mano a mano and run it down their throat or be creative again. So no issue with the decision at that moment. No issue. And I know people are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to chastise them and they're going to get on them. And by the way, not the best coaching performance by the two Seans over the weekend. Because if they get that, if they convert it and they punch it in, that game's pretty much over. And oh, by the way, think about it. They forced a punt and they got the ball back and fumbled. And that's when New England finally scored. That game wasn't won and lost because of that 3. They couldn't do anything offensively in the second half. They had a couple missed field goals as well. And just the quarterback showed you that he wasn't ready to play and he was in a tough spot. And again, you can sit there all you want and you can Monday morning quarterbacking it. It was the right decision. It was just a bad play call. It was a bad play call. Sometimes you can have the right frame of mind and the right decision, and you can still, though, have that gaffe. Go back to the NFC Championship. Go back to the NFC Championship years ago, and I still maintain this. Everyone got on Dan Campbell. Everyone got on Dan Campbell because they were talking about Dan Campbell's ability to be aggressive. They were looking at Dan Campbell, and sometimes they were arguing, well, Dan Campbell sometimes is uberly too aggressive. Okay, fine. When they went for it in that game against the San Francisco 49ers, it was the right decision, but it was not the right play call. You don't draw up a play for a wide receiver that's not on the same page with Jared Goff. And then all of a sudden the house came down. We don't even need to rehash that. But point being is, I don't have a problem with that. You're in a bad spot with a backup quarterback. And like I said, they hired their offensive line coach, the management assistant, Evan Rothstein, basically one of Peyton's most trusted guys, to figure out what we're going to do, analytics, what we're going to do as far as, the yardage and breaking it down and what play call and the design and key moments and momentum. In the end, it's Sean Payton's call. So everyone's going to roast Sean Payton. They didn't lose that game because of that play or the inability to convert. They lost it because they left some points on the board with missed field goals. They couldn't do anything offensively in the second half. And then let's be honest, you had a couple of breakdowns on the defensive side of the ball if you were the Denver Broncos. Their defense needed to carry the day yesterday, and that was a tough ask. And I don't think New England's a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. I don't. I really don't. I don't look at the New England Patriots and say they're an unbelievable team. I don't. But like I said, the game, again, if you guys can sit there and you can argue all you want with me. You can argue. It's not even about I couldn't have been more wrong. It's not the way the NFL is played, period. Period. It's not. You have to go for it there, because then I can make the same argument about McVay not going for two, and you guys would come on the air today and sit there and scream, you can't chase points. So listen, I'm not wrong. We're going to have to agree to disagree. Sean Payton only turns around and he regrets it because it didn't work. But if Sean Payton, if they run the football and pick up 1 yard, that's all you're asking them to do, and they punch it in to go up 14-0, that game is over. 10-0, the game's not over. 14-0, the game is over. Like, seriously, what is that? How you guys play scared? You're still playing in the friggin' 80s? Is that what we're doing right now? We're playing scared? You can't pick up a yard. I just went down the play chart for you. They were running the football. He elects to roll out the quarterback. That play was dead before it even got started. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm not. Absolutely. I'm 100% correct. And I don't care if 1,000 people tell me I'm wrong. The analytics, the way you read that game, you go for it and you go up 14-0 and you force New England to throw themselves back in the game against that defense. They were not going to do it. They weren't. They were not going to do it. So you can sit there all you want to talk about momentum, this, momentum, that. It was the beginning of the second quarter, momentum. You still punt it. You still got them to give the ball right back up. You ran it for 3. You ran it for 4. You ran it for 5. You don't have your quarterback roll out or drop back to pass. You run it on 4th and 1. It's simple. It's simple. It's absolutely simple. But the game wasn't won and lost on that play. It wasn't. They couldn't take advantage of field position. They couldn't do anything in the second half. The quarterback, again, looked like a guy that's never really thrown a football in a big spot. And the defense gave up 2 big plays. They gave up 2 big plays. So like I said, again, Payton to me, I'm telling you, Payton to me, I thought at that moment, right idea, right church, wrong pew. And again, I'm seeing 1,000 people disagree with me, but I'm also seeing, 15, 20, 25 hit me up right now on X and Facebook. They're 100% agreeing with me. So we can agree to disagree in this regard. They didn't lose the game because of that. That quarterback was in a tough spot. Now, that's game number 1. That's the AFC game. That's the AFC Championship game. The NFC Championship game, let me just say this. For those that love to friggin' point out my flaws and how I'm always wrong, now a lot of you all need to shut up and back off about Sam Darnold. Because last year, all I heard was he couldn't win the big game. Last year, all I heard was Sam Darnold's a choke artist. Last year, all I heard was, well, this is why Minnesota's getting rid of him and they're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. They can't trust him. Oh, my goodness. That's a great move. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. And then when he goes to Seattle, all I heard is, Q, you're ridiculous. Oh, you're drinking the Sam Darnold juice. This guy stinks. He's never going to win the big game. Geno Smith is better. Where are you at today? Where are you at today? Where are you at on a Monday? You want to pick on me and tell me about every friggin' flaw or every little thing I get wrong. Sam Darnold yesterday shut up a lot of people. I don't care what Sam Darnold does in the Super Bowl. Big spot, big stage. Sam Darnold friggin' slung it yesterday. He played brilliant football. He looked like an elite quarterback. He did everything I told you he was going to do on Friday and then some. He rolled around. He hung in the pocket. He took a couple shots. He maybe had 1 or 2 bad throws, and then he answered the call every single solitary time the Rams tried to come within striking distance. I couldn't be more pleased, more happy for Sam Darnold. I'm not a Seattle Seahawks fan, but I'm a big Darnold fan. Now, you guys want to get on Payton? Then let's not give Sean McVay a pass. Because if you go back and watch that game yesterday, and again, you want to talk about momentum, you want to talk about analytics, the smart play. Okay, so here's a couple things that McVay, who everyone thinks is the end-all be-all, the creator of the NFL, the creator of football, he doesn't go for 2. He doesn't challenge Cooper Kupp's catch. And some of these decisions, oh, by the way, let's man up again and talk about exactly what I said with Lloyd. What was going to be key to this game? Special teams. And we saw the special teams gaffed by the Rams. But let's go back to McVay for a second, shall we? Because in a game that was kind of, ebb and flow, kind of a little heavyweight affair, everyone is screaming about the taking the points, taking the points, taking the points, taking the points, taking the points. Okay. He didn't, which forced him to go for it on fourth down. You're down 31-27 with under 5 to go. First of all, field goal, it's not 4 points, it's 3. Okay. So you have to go for it. But again, McVay had 2 chances to make the smart football decision, and he fouled them up. It's a 24-20 game. And then Cooper Kupp catches the 13-yard dart from Darnold. It's 31-20. That's an 11-point cushion right there. When Puka Nacua scores to cut into the deficit, that's where you go for 2 right there and make it a 1-possession game, 31-28. A field goal ties it up. So you want to tell me that McVay's the best coach in the league? I'm not going to argue that. But he lost a game for the Rams yesterday. You had 2 no-brainers to go for 2. You cut the game to 3, especially late in the third. And then guess what? You kick a field goal there on fourth down and you tie it up. And it's not chasing points like people are screaming after a failed 2-point conversion. The other bizarre, which I couldn't believe it at the time, was that you're not challenging the Cooper Kupp, the catch. You call a timeout instead of just challenging the play. Now, I don't know if he would have won the challenge, but why not? You use the timeout regardless. So you throw the flag before your timeout. I mean, hello? You got assistance, right? So you think about that. The thought about your assistant stepping in when you got this opportunity for the replay, you step in during the timeout and you still have a challenge still. And I don't, for the life of me. You had the Seattle Seahawks defense on the ropes. The offense was friggin' humming. You had 2 chances to go for it, and then the fourth down call is a lot easier to do. I mean, it's more palpable. I can swallow that. I can deal with it. So you kick a field goal to cut the lead to 1, which is pointless. Because you know what happened afterwards? The Rams touched the ball once after that. So the game was lost right there. And if you want to talk about the muff punt, that's fine. That was horrific. Either one of those, it was a bad coaching day for Sean McVay. It was. So like I said, you can argue until you're blue in the friggin' face with me about Sean Payton. That's fine. I just feel as though at that moment, you go for it. And no one can sit there and forecast a friggin' weather and tell me it was going to be the way it was as that game unfolded. I'm just not buying it, guys. I'm not. If you can't pick up a yard in the NFL, that's on you. No one's sitting there saying have your backup quarterback roll out. No one's saying have your backup, try an RPO or some goofy play, but you ran it for 2, you ran it for 3, you ran it for 4, you ran it for 5, you ran it for 3. You can't pick up a yard and you put that game away. Even for those that want to scream and debate me and say I couldn't be more wrong when a bunch of you are saying I'm 100% accurate. Even if you kick the field goal and you're up 10-0, who's to say New England's not going to be able to punch it in? Who's to say Stidham's not going to throw a pick? I mean, did we talk about that with some of his decision making? Again, it was a tough opportunity for the kid. It really was. But all I'm saying is in that situation, sometimes you go with the gut. And the gut right there is 4th and 1, pick up a friggin' yard. Pick up a yard at home, punch him in the mouth, punch it in, go up 14-0. Now defensively, you can do a lot of things differently. You can do a lot of things differently. And then obviously the weather played into it, no doubt, later on as the game progressed. But it was not, listen, he didn't have the best overall coaching game, either did McVay. And then you turn around and you got the 2 other head coaches on the sideline basically playing chess. These guys are playing checkers. McVay, he panicked. He flat out panicked yesterday. And as far as Sean Payton, like I said, listen, I'm telling you right now, generally, if you're driving and you're faced with 4th and short, you're going to go for it. It's just, you're going to go for it. It's a short field, right? Now, if it's 4th and 1, the opponent turns it over, Denver has a short field. Yeah, I get it. Some coaches are going to take the points. And you can argue backup quarterback, but no one's talking about that when they scored 7, when he slung it down the sideline. So stop making excuses. It was the play call and design, just like Dan Campbell years ago against the 49ers. 4th and 3, he goes for it. It was a bad play call, but the decision was correct. Decision was correct. It's an AFC championship, man. You can't play it safe. You just can't. Sometimes you got to be aggressive. And you know what? If it fails, it fails, and you die with your boots on. That's you just have to sometimes. You got to be able to punch a team in the mouth. You have to. 14 nothing. I'm telling you, New England's not coming back. 10 nothing. They're still in that game. That's all I'm saying. So again, you look at McVay, you look at Payton, but at the end of the day, May made a couple plays, and Sam Darnold was brilliant. Sam Darnold was brilliant. But again, I don't hear a lot of people coming on today telling me, yeah, I was right about Sam Darnold. When you guys were killing me last year when I was like, I can't believe Minnesota's not going to re-sign him. Oh, Seattle's making a mistake. Geno Smith is better. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yep, I got you. How'd that work out, Geno Smith with the Raiders and Pete Carroll? Only got him fired. All right, a lot of comments coming in. 21 past the 4 o'clock hour on a Monday edition of On Cue as I welcome in my good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. I mean, it's unbelievable on SR 1029 FM, The Game. You catching him at 8 o'clock tonight. I don't even know what to say. I don't, and I'm not even at a loss for words. All I'm saying is I think some people are just stuck in the friggin' 1980s. And I get it, Lloyd. Sometimes the gut says you play it to the vest, you take the points, but I laid it out. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Q is Monday morning quarterbacking up in here.
Listen,
Yeah.
it really is. All right, we'll start with the AFC Championship game. And everyone's got an opinion on this, and I'm fine with it. I just ultimately I've kind of stated my case. I know sometimes you can be pro analytics, you can be against analytics, but your opinion up 7, 4th and 1 on the 14, the Denver Broncos electing to go for it and not take the points.
Well, and I'm sure they didn't know the weather was going to change the second half, but I thought he should have taken the points. Q. I
Okay.
thought, and I think the play call actually factored into it. Hindsight's 2020, but yeah, that rollout play with Stidham and they knock it away from the receiver. That was just like, what are you doing there? I mean, why wouldn't they try some kind of a power, run up the middle or something like that? But they thought they could get it on that type of situation, and Peyton, he's lost what he's like 1-4 in the NFC championship games, and you could see he was despondent, and then his second half, obviously the weather just turned that game.
Yeah.
You got to tip your cap though to Vrabel, what he did turn around that team so quickly. 4-13. Drake May got it done when he had to get it most. Probably the biggest play to me was May hitting Mac Hollins on one of those third downs.
Yeah.
That was huge to keep the chains moving, and he
So
used his legs.
yeah, let me ask you a question for a second. So no one had a problem when Stidham slung it pretty early. And again, going back to that drive, I laid it out. They ran it for 3, they ran it for 5, they ran it for 2, they ran it for 4, they ran it for 9 with Harvey. So you can't pick up a yard on 4th and 1 to go up 14 nothing. Like everyone's sitting there saying, yeah, totally different 7-7, 10-7. You are Monday morning quarterbacking. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. Because also, let's bring up too, they also missed a field goal, and so did New England. So it's almost like apples and oranges. We're only killing it because it failed. But I can tell you this right now. If Sean Payton went for it yesterday and they converted it and scored 14 nothing, New England never responded. You know what the narrative today is? Man, I'll tell you what, that took balls. I mean, he read the room. Unbelievable. 4th and 1. He decided, you know what? I'm going to take pressure off my backup quarterback and let my defense go out and win it. I mean, I remember Parcells was doing a fake punt in the NFC Championship. Like, we've seen aggressive play calling before. And again, maybe that's not his MO, But if that's Dan Campbell, he's going for it. He's going to live and die by that decision. And every talking head out there, be damned. The game to me was not lost on that particular call. The game was lost because in the second half they couldn't do anything offensively,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they went away from the run.
Yeah, and Harvey, he struggled. 13 rushes, 37 yards. He only had one first down in terms of rushing the football queue. And the biggest play, obviously, to me was Stidham in that lateral backward pass, intentional grounding. I mean, that put him right on the doorstep. It actually should have been a touchdown, but they blew it dead. And he
And
came
their
out
run
fired.
defense stunk. I mean, Drake
Correct.
May had 65 yards. Steven had 71. So again, they never, when they needed to stop, even late with some of these drives to burn clock, they never got to stop, even though it was such a low scoring game.
Right. And May had 6 rushing first downs. So he moved the chains when he had to. They, you know, to Vrabel's credit, he knew his defense could get the job done,
Yeah.
and they punted the football very conservative. They killed the clock. There's no style points. They win 10-7, and then they move on. It was a ugly situation out there in terms of the weather, and both teams had to play in it. But Denver was kind of handicapped right away. We knew that with Stidham. But Stidham did come out right away, firing the football cue, and you're like, oh, okay, hit Sutton for that touchdown early, and you think he's going to be in this game, but then they just kind of figured him out, and Vrabel stayed the course, him and his defensive coordinator, and then very conservative and physical offensively in terms of McDaniels and his playbook.
If Bo Nix is playing and it's 4th and 1, are they tush pushing? They're going to let him run up the gut with his legs?
They're running behind Bowles for that. I mean, they're running behind their All-Pro tackle, and they're going to get that first down. But the
It's
play
very
call,
hard for me to sit there and say if Bo Nix is playing, they're winning that game because we just don't know. You have to factor in the elements as well. A couple missed field
correct?
goals here and there. The game, I guess my whole point is the game changes a lot, right? So you can talk momentum all you want. And I understand everyone's opinion to not, to not go for it there and take the points. And I can appreciate it. But I'm just saying more times than not, it's beyond the safest play. And there's no guarantee he's making a field goal. I mean, hell, Rich Carlos missed a 22-yarder in a Super Bowl. But point being is, yes, you sit there and say there's a greater chance of what? And all I'm doing is laying it out. When you look at that drive, they were running the football. Sure, they ran for under 4 yards per carry for the game, but I'm not expecting also as the weather became increasingly worse to have a quarterback in Jarrett Stidham drop back to pass 31 something odd times. I mean, this is when it's 10-7 after they punt it and New England gets the field goal, they punt in the third quarter, they missed a field goal. Now you go to that fourth quarter, 3 plays punt, 4 plays punt, 6 plays punts, missed field goal, interception, and then the game's pretty much over. So again, it was a culmination of a lot, but I believe the game was really lost in the second half, not on that one potential play. And I know Sean Payton's feeling the wrath today. I get it. And that's fine, but I wouldn't second guess it. And quite frankly, I'm looking at New England. I wasn't overly impressed. I mean, they found a way to win a game on the road, which is always tough to do. I thought going in, now that we know that they're going to play Seattle, they should be at least a 3.5 point underdog. I mean, you know, do we look at New England and say, look at the path they had? I mean, does that diminish anything that the Patriots have done?
No, they had to win. They had to beat a tough Houston defense. The Chargers, they're a capable team. So and then you have to look at New England on the road 9-0. So they went in there without any fear. They knew they could go on the road and compete in this one game. And no, after a while, you got to say, who cares who they played in the regular season? They proved it in the playoffs, and all the guys that they picked up in the off season, Milton Williams and Spillane, and all these guys, Matt Collins, they all made contributions in this game, and they built around their second year quarterback. So no, I don't think their easy schedule is a big talking point at this time, because they proved it. They turned this culture around, and it's crazy because now they're the darlings at NFL. Everybody, the
Darlings
evil
my
empire
ass.
the evil empire for so long. Now, now they're back, and it's a rematch, and we're going to see how this turns out. In Santa Clara.
It wasn't when our lost game changed dramatically. All right, let's. I mean, you guys want to? I got a bunch of people that are agreeing with me, and then obviously I got a bunch of people that are not. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Now, I guess people, all we talked about over the last several years, analytics ruling the game of football, not ruining, but running the game of football. Analytics, analytics, analytics. Then you get the older school guys, and we were those guys too. You take the points, you punt the football, you don't go for it. It's a risky play. Now you watch something like that unfold on multiple times, multiple levels yesterday in both games, respectively, on the biggest stage, AFC NFC Championship game. Now all of a sudden we're going to take a step back and forget about analytics. Like that, understand what I'm saying? Like it's almost comical, but I'm telling you right now, if everything worked out today, these guys are geniuses. They're geniuses. They've got stones. They've got onions. Oh my God, I want that guy to be my head coach because it didn't on the biggest stage. It's magnified. And then you look at the Rams and you look at my guy, mind you, not your guy, not their guy, my guy, Sam Darnold, who after last year, all I heard from you, including the listening audience and the commenters, I don't know if he's going to elevate Seattle. The guy can't go on the road and win, and this guy's a bum, and he's going to revert back to a pumpkin. And we know about Sam seeing the ghost. Where are you now? Where are you now with my guy slinging Sammy Darnold, who was brilliant yesterday in the biggest moment of his career?
Whole time I'm watching that game, I said, "Oh, Q's going to be on fire tomorrow." And we were on Friday and we did back your play, and we
Yeah,
and I both on both shows I said I think this guy's going to blow it. There's going to be a situation where he throws a pass up there that he's not supposed to. He had
right,
all those
right.
turnovers this season to lead the National Football, but he was cool, calm, and collective. Q got it done. 25 at 36, 346, three TDs, no interceptions, and he was sacked three times. There was pressure in his face, so he still stayed the course. And JSN, I mean, you can't talk about the Darnold without talking about JSN at the game that he had. I mean, he was just finding him over and over again. Had that nice check down to Bobo for the touchdown. I mean, hey, he looked like the veteran quarterback out there, the guy that had been through all these types of situations before. And Stafford there's a couple throws he probably wants to have back.
I thought Darnold was just in a groove early, and I love the play call. I love how they mixed it up. I like the designs. I mean, listen, they've got weapons, and let me put this on the record. If the Eagles would have played Seattle, the Eagles would have been dog walked. They would have been absolutely thoroughly. Listen. I know it's only Monday, but you almost get the sense that Seattle's going to rip New England. But we got 2 weeks to get into that. But I love what Darnold did yesterday. But I want to get into McVay for a second because we're talking about Sean Payton, and then you got the McVay situation. So just hear me out on both these fronts.
Sure.
So everyone talks about momentum, right? And in baseball, it's your next day starter, right? So momentum is kind of different in the NFL. And can we also get on the record? What did I say on Back Your Play and on Friday's show to look out for with the Rams? One of their bugaboos,
Special teams.
right? Which bit him in the ass big time. But how about McVay with not going for two when it's 11-point game and you're right back in it. And then you got your defense actually picking it up a little bit. Now, I don't think the Rams lost because of a special teams mistake or their defense finally broke after bending. I look at, conservative decisions by a head coach that's typically not conservative, and he's very aggressive and he understands every situational aspect of the game. So again, 17-13, right? 17-13. We got our first moment in the third quarter. You're trailing 17-13. The Rams coming up for airs. The defense pretty much, got those liver shots. All of a sudden, you force a pump. You got momentum. And then what happens, right? You get the Smith slip. The ball pops loose. Seattle recovers. Okay, fine. You find the end zone. So you blink, you go get your fresh roasted coffee or you get a beverage of your choice. A 4-point deficit is now 11 points in the blink of an eye. Logic tells you score a touchdown there, which they did. then you got to go for two. And you basically now make it a 3-point game, a one possession game. So their first drive of the fourth quarter was like basically a slow burn. They went 14 plays, 84 yards, 7.5 minutes, convert a fourth down, face another 4th and 4 from the 6. He runs towards the timeline. He calls timeout, then he pulls everyone back. At that moment, I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. You're down 4. It's 31-27. If you would have went for 2, a field goal ties it up. A field goal does nothing because it's not worth 4 points. You still got to get the ball back multiple times with under 5 minutes to go, if anything. And what happens? Pass is incomplete, and the season is over. I didn't even get to not challenging the Cooper Cup play. So I'm sorry, that play, the Cooper Cup play, the reception. So McVay, would you have gone for 2, or would you have been a believer in no, that's chasing the points? And then also the fact that he goes for it on fourth down 4, 31-27, 1 under 6 to play.
Yeah, there were some head scratching movements by McVay. I know him particularly that challenge for Cooper Cup. He called a timeout, and then he didn't throw the red challenge flag. So then he didn't have any more timeouts. They're down to 1. And then the Seattle's really able to salt the clock away in that game. So that was one of them. And the play call on that fourth down in the red zone that you're talking about, I was that was odd too. The I think they went to like one of the third string tight end there. I thought the play was for Devontae Adams originally, and then they inexplicably went over there and it didn't work. So yeah, there was a couple moments that this game came down to, and a big one was third downs. Rams 1 of 8 on third downs.
That's another thing we talked about on
Seattle
BYP.
7 of 13 on third downs.
Yeah.
Rams 1 of 2 on fourth down. The one that I talked about where he missed the play to the tight end in the end zone. So yeah, it's a game where they're going to wish they had it back. And Seattle was hungry. Their defense let up a lot of points and yards, but they they were opportunistic and they were harassing Stafford and they did a nice job in terms of their adjustments.
And you're talking about going to Ferguson, which again, listen, I understand everything is hindsight, right? I mean, we talk about 2020 and Monday morning quarterbacking, but he didn't coach particularly well. I thought he froze up. Um, and my only counter argument is if you go for 2 earlier, that drive changes entirely, right? A field goal instead of desperation, right? Game plan and strategy instead of kind of scrambling around. And the Rams got the ball back with 25 seconds, no timeouts, and a miracle needed. So it's like, I get it. Sometimes you freeze in a moment. Sometimes you overthink. Sometimes you're over aggressive. Sometimes you're not as aggressive. Defensively, you saw they were starting to get gassed. They were exploited with Darnold back in the pocket, very comfortable. The same thing with throwing the flag, not throwing the flag, challenging, not challenging. You're a Super Bowl winning head coach. He's been around the block. Like these are kind of boneheaded, bone scratching. I mean, was the moment too big for him?
Well, I think they got a little tight, and the two this was their rubber match. So the two other times they played, they had frazzled Darnold and they got turnovers and that was the key. The turnovers really fueled how that game's kind of played out. And I think this time, they were the ones, that had the big turnover with Smith fumbling that ball deep in the territory and
Yeah.
they were the ones playing from behind. Don't forget that the Seattle got the ball to start the second half and they were physical, man. They were Kenneth Walker played extremely well. 19 rushes for 62, 1 TD in this game and I thought the Rams struggled, particularly Shula's unit in the back end. The Forbes and Durant, they were having problems in coverage, and JSM was just tearing them up. I mean, 10 catches on 12 targets, 153, had a TD, and he showed why he's, Pro Football Writers of America's Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he was just incredible in this game, and Seattle, tip your cap to them, Q, and it was quarterback. It started with him. I mean, he was the man in control.
Yeah. Quarterback that's
They
people don't want
ran
to
the
give credit
ball.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Their line over the years have been much maligned. They've said the line was kind of not as physical, and they did the job up front. So, yeah, Seattle is a dangerous team, and that's why when I watched the line right away when it came out. They're what a 5-point favorite. going into the Super Bowl. So obviously Vegas is thinking the same way that
Yeah, it opened
this
up
team.
2.5, 3, which we pretty much thought. And by the way, to your point, they kept Darnold upright for most of the game. New headphones, who this, aka Heat 12 Man, aka Heisman, aka Steeler Nation, aka Duval, also known as Vince. Sean Payton lost that game for the Broncos, period. Can't drop back a quarterback 30 plus times and not take points when they're available. Congrats, Q. Sam Darnold doesn't suck. Still doesn't mean crap until he does it consistently. One game is awesome. Year after year is elite. I mean, it's just the anger. I'm going to tell you why the anger comes out today with some of the viewing audience. Right, McVay messed up play calls end of the first half. And what's a catch these days? Why didn't Cooper Cup possess the ball through the ground like everyone else? Everyone else gets called for. That's actually a very good point. Money Mike says McVay made some bad calls that cost his team. This was their year. I think it's Seattle's year, to be quite honest. I think from start to finish, they have been the most dominant team, the most balanced and complete team. Star chimes in from Delaware. Q, I'm actually going to agree with you. You have to be aggressive in that spot. Like you said, I don't want that quarterback rolling out, run the friggin' football. Franchise chimes in. Q, if I'm in that spot, for a fact we're trying to run the football and put that game out of reach. It changes everything defensively. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. Now, my buddy Mel is a big time Rams fan. He's out west. He's a matchmaker for bare knuckle. And he says, Q, this one's absolutely friggin' painful. You're right. We always talk and argue about chasing the points. In this regard, he had to actually chase the points. It's a totally, entirely different game. They're calling plays differently. And by the way, what the hell happened to their vaulting defense? They couldn't get to Darnold. So that's a bitter pill to swallow if you are a Rams team. I think either team would have won the Super Bowl. Like, I just think the NFC is, whether it's the Rams or Seattle, man, I can't see New England. I don't know. I mean, everyone's now, they want to chime in and say, is the game going to be watchable? Is it going to be a piss poor game? Again, you got a couple weeks to kind of dissect that. When do you think after this game now? So let's go this route. As everyone said, it's only one game for Darnold. I don't think that's fair. He's won 14 games in back-to-back seasons for two different franchises. Like, what if Darnold now goes 20 of 28 for 288 and a touchdown and wins a Super Bowl? What then? Like, I feel there's this school of thought that they're just going to wait for the other shooter. Like, okay, you said it during the season, it didn't drop. You said it during the playoffs, it didn't drop. You said it during the NFC Championship, it didn't drop. Now it's like, gotcha, if he plays poorly in the Super Bowl. Like, can't we just give him his just due? And Minnesota made a grave mistake not signing him.
Well, everybody's going to. They're going to wait for the other shoe to drop with him. He 5 teams. 5 teams. I saw that today.
But
The
that's not
only other
fair.
quarterback,
But
Earl Morgan,
that's hold
some of
on.
these
That's the
other guys,
Jets.
Chris Chandler.
Yeah,
They so they're questioning him. They're going to question him, and
yeah, but Joe
rightfully
Douglas
so.
came out, Lloyd. But Joe Douglas came out and said, no matter what, we screwed the kid. He's going to be successful after the fact. And then he's running scout with Baker Mayfield. And then he goes to the 49ers. They wanted to re-sign him. They wanted to keep him as a backup. I mean, look, I understand retreads in the NFL, but hell, Jim Plunkett was a retread. Jim Plunkett's drafted by New England, bounced around a little bit with the 49ers, finally found his footing and won 2 Super Bowls. Why can't Darnold do it?
He can. He can. I'm not betting against him. I mean, no way. After the way he played, and you're right, we've seen so much crazy things in the Super Bowl, where these guys step up to the moon. I mean, a guy I'm pretty close with, Doug Williams. I mean, that he had his moment. He bounced around Tampa Bay, then he goes to the USFL,
That's
and
right.
then he's the backup quarterback to Jay Schrader, and then he gets his opportunity. And I talked to him extensively about that game, and he said, "Look, I approached it. I was just quarterback of the team, and I need to go out and execute." And he had a game of a lifetime. So
Right.
there's
Timmy
no
Smith
saying
too. Yeah.
Darnold cannot do it, and New England's underdog here. So they're going to try to muddy this game up with their two-headed monster in the backfield and that defense with Milton Williams, and probably they'll put Gonzalez one-on-one on JSN. It's going to be a fun chess match to watch. So, I was 1-1, you were 1-1, but yeah, I just thought the Rams, they would be able to duplicate what they did in the past to Seattle.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Uh, Bull Run on X chimes in. Q, you know I love you, but I will root against Sean Payton for the rest of my life. He friggin' ruined my weekend. Horrible decision, horrible play call, horrible result. It cost the franchise their entire season, Q. Get out of here. Take it somewhere else. Go argue with your mama on that one. IE chimes in. Q, it's not about that. It's about his arrogance. You got to trust Stidham and the offense on fourth down. Are you friggin' kidding me? All right. Kevin chimes in. You know what? Sean Payton has made an entire career off one onside kick and has otherwise been one of the worst playoff coaches in football.
He was jobbed though. Don't forget he was jobbed against the Rams. You know what I mean?
Oh, are you kidding me? With the play, the sideline play. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vince says, Q, we got to talk about the Super Bowl that no one cares about. Who actually cares about these two teams outside their respective cities? Football season is officially over. Oh, does that mean we can talk hot stove baseball now and NBA? Stop. You guys are going to watch. I get it. No, I'm watching because I have to root for Seattle. I can't allow the Patriots to win again. I can't. I need Sam Darnold to win. I need to live vicariously through slinging Slammy Darnold, the friggin', the red bearded rifleman. I have to. I need him to be an MVP because Denver, my Super Bowl pick, is done. Washington was done in October. I got nothing else to hang my hat on.
Yeah, well, he needs to become Eli Manning and beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. He got to get it done. So
Oh man.
I think, yeah, I think it's going to happen. But we'll see. We'll have a couple weeks to analyze this thing. But it was that was a heavyweight fight in terms of Seattle and the Rams. I really there was some good scoring in that game, and then you had the ugly snowball there with the Patriots and Denver Broncos. But overall, people are watching, like you said, Q. The divisional round, 39 million people average watching games. So they're really watching these games, and it's going to be interesting in Santa Clara.
Analytics seem to be falling a lot in postseason. JSK elevates Seattle. JSN. At risk of making Q blow his lid, did anyone see that Shador Sanders was named to the Pro? No one gives a shit about the Pro Bowl. Stop.
The
I mean,
replacement.
can we stop? Let me go out there and throw friggin' 6 picks. Come on, stop. And I'm not, you know what? They want me to blow the lid. Yeah, they want me to blow the lid, but I'm not. Should have known JSN was the truth when he was putting up numbers with Geno. Oh, yeah, Geno, sure. But everyone thought Geno was going to be, hey, got to get rid of Geno. I know, we're not going to, I can't believe you're going to let him go. You're going to trade him away to the Raiders. Oh, you're going to bring in Sam Darnold. Stop. I like this handle. Smooth operator. Shador is trash. The Pro Bowl officially means nothing. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Pro Bowl is a joke. You know what? Let's get, Bronco Ball, who has stuck with us all season long. I'm wondering his take on the Sean Payton. I know it's a tough little day. I know that. Tough day for Bronco Ball. Oh, now, hold on a second. Now, look at this. I got your kin chiming in on the comments. How about this? How about
he loves coming on he comes on my show, throwing in knowledge. He always, he says he knows more than Dad, And sometimes I think he does, but I think his takes are not as hot as he thinks.
Oh wow, just putting the young man in his place. That's right. How about this? Michael says 14-0 ends that game. Q. Now he is a die-hard Bronco fan. Hashtag Bronco Ball, Knicks Ball, Bow Ball. Let Russell Wilson cook, marinate, whatever the hell it is. There you go. You go for it in that regard. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah, he probably should have went. He probably hindsight's 2020. They should have went for it and try to get it done. Especially with a backup quarterback, because you knew he wasn't doing much after that first drive. So
yeah.
And Harvey, we talked about that. His inability to run the football. They have to figure out a running game going into next season.
It's comical. So I got Jody, I got Tom and Summers Point saying, Q, really don't appreciate your little jab at the friggin' Eagles. We're the Giants. It's not even a jab. You lost in the wild card game. Go away. Eagles fans, this is what I'm saying. If you didn't play yesterday, you can't sit there. I'm not coming on the air talking about the Giants today. I mentioned the Eagles because they would have been waxed. They would have been woodshed. Like if you're an Eagles fan today, you can't say diddly douche. You can't say squadoosh. You can't say anything. You can't. Because if you would have played the Rams or Seattle, they would have been destroyed. And oh, by the way, they still don't have a freaking offensive coordinator. It's almost as though everyone's looking at the Philadelphia Eagles like they got a bunch of germs, catch a cold. Nobody wants to take this friggin' job.
Yeah,
New
it's
England is the
interesting
worst
that OC,
team.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that OC position is going to be open because Kafka he just joined the Lions as an offensive assistant, so he's out of the running for that position too.
Who'd you
I'm
say,
wondering if it's
Kafka?
going to be Kafka, yeah,
He stinks anyway as an offensive coordinator.
yes. So there, I don't know, maybe it's Nagy, but yeah, it's interesting because the Eagles are still looking, and all these candidates are flying off the table.
Well, listen, two things right now. There's one guy that everyone has their eye on, but he's not going to be a coordinator, and that's going to be it's going to be Kubiak. His stock is just
Yeah, Tony
so.
Kubiak, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Now with Philip Rivers, which was a joke, by the way, he realized I got 10 kids. I'm not moving to friggin' Buffalo. Let's be honest and call it for what it is. He takes his name out of running in Buffalo. To me, it just tells me there's one guy that the Buffalo Bills have their eye on, and it's got to be Kubiak, no?
He's in the mix. I still think Joe Brady, who's in house there, they're looking at him. Your buddy Dable. It's going to be interesting to see how they finally. And McDermott, they fire him, and now they're an also ran in terms of they're down there with Cleveland and Arizona. They can't get a coach, so we're going to see who falls to the Bills there. But I have a feeling it's going to be Brady. Davis Webb was in there for an interview today,
Yeah.
and that's Josh Allen having a seat at the table.
You guys are going to watch this game. Just stop. You just said it, Q. We're not watching Sam Darnold or Drake May. We'll be the lowest rated Super Bowl in a while. Add to that Bad Bunny hate, and I don't know if people will watch, honestly. Now you're throwing poor Bad Bunny into the mix. I mean, come on, man. Leave him alone. Listen, you are going to watch. Seriously. The people that sit there and claim they're not going to watch the Super Bowl, you're going to watch. You might be at a party. You might be with your friends. You might be doing some player props. You might bet some coins, some shekels on the game. You might be out and about. You might have an eyeball, but don't tell me you're not watching the Super Bowl. I can't think, I'm trying to think of unsexy Super Bowls, right? Tampa and the Raiders was not a sexy Super Bowl. It really wasn't. And the game turned out to be a joke. Now, do you guys honestly believe right now on a Monday, 2 weeks away, this game's going to be a 35-10 blowout? And Sam Darnold's walking off there with his helmet, cheesing ear to ear, saying, hey, Sam Darnold, you're MVP. You just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? I'm going to give a middle effing finger to everyone that doubted me, and then I'm going to Disney World.
It's his time. Hopefully, he doesn't revert back to
But do you think
last
it's a
year in the
bad?
playoffs.
I'm just saying though. Do you think this is set up to be a bad Super Bowl? Like everyone's sitting there talking about, the ratings all of us. How do you know? Everyone always watches.
Yeah, they're going to watch Q. I mean, I just saw the top 50 shows of last year, and like I don't know, 45 of them were NFL games. The Oscars was thrown in there somewhere. People love the National
Ooh.
Football League. It's just drama. You know what I mean? And you have a lot here. You have Darnold, but you also have on the other side, can the Patriots come back? In second-year quarterback, 4-13 to a Super Bowl. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be incredible as well. All those free agents and so yeah, there's a lot of drama, and people will be watching.
yeah. Michael's only hyping you up. He wanted to 3. You go for the W at home. Oh man, just painful. Thank you. Just needed a better play call. Do you realize if Bo Nix is playing in this game, we're talking about Denver in the Super Bowl, and then my proclamation, my Q crystal ball in August, I would have been set. Q Adamas, right? I mean, I would have been absolutely set with Denver in the Super Bowl. Now we get slinging Sammy Darnold, and we get those friggin' frauds from New England. Brutal, brutal, brutal. See, you know what's happening? I can see it right now. This is what happens when people disagree with me in the comments section. This is what they do. They try to tweak. You can see. That's why I'm not even pulling them up. So what they do is they try to bring it to another level. Classlessness. That's all that is. I mean, some teams need to worry about why they got bounced in the first round or why their quarterbacks are a fraud. So, you want to come in with the giant hate on a Monday, that's fine. You want to be classless and wish ill will towards my franchise quarterback? Fine. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're not having it on a Monday. How long will McCarthy last in Pittsburgh? I think Pittsburgh is going down a bad road and they'll open up a coaching carousel. Uh, Luca
It,
Brazzi
it,
actually with a valid point
yeah,
for once.
it could be. It could, but the Steelers' way is he's going to be given at least 5 years or so to turn that thing around. Only thing, Q, is this is his third franchise that he's running, so it's
Right.
like, yeah, you're wondering where that situation is going to go. They don't have the Rodgers isn't coming back. They have holes all over their defense. Who knows what's going to happen with Watt and some of those older guys. So, yeah, McCarthy's got his work cut out for him and Khan, the GM.
Yeah. I need to clarify too. See, this is the nonsense, the crap that I have to put up with. I said McCarthy, I can live with him. That's before I realized Harbaugh got fired. That's what I'm saying. See, this is what I'm so right about all my friggin' man up takes on a Monday, Lloyd, that it's pissing people off. That's the problem. So now what they're doing is they're nitpicking. They're friggin' nitpicking. Talk about the special teams, gave the analytics a why you go for it, talking about slinging Sammy Darnold. Here we go. So now all of a sudden you see it. Wishing ill harm to my franchise, to my quarterback, wishing John Harbaugh falls on ice and they have to go back and get rid of him and then fire McCarthy. It's a joke. This is what happens on a Monday. The listening audience, Lloyd, let's just call for what it is. They cannot stand. They cannot stand if I happen to be right once or twice. They don't like it. For some reason, they feel it's their job to come on and just basically cross check and correct me.
Maybe their parlays didn't come in or something, Q. I don't, it, but you're going to stand your ground, and
I
I think
am.
that's why your audience loves that. So hey,
I'll
look,
go to the mountaintop and talk about Darnold. I'll go to, yes, I said if McCarthy, I said I have no problem with it. I said I had no problem with McCarthy. But again, now that Harbaugh is available, I want John Harbaugh. What? I can't say that. 49ers, go away. You got blown out against Seattle. Eagles, go away. You lost to the freaking 49ers. Duval, I don't want to hear you anymore. Tom and Summers Point, Joe D. Sarge, get the hell out of here. Go away on a friggin' Monday. Stop. They're so pissed off that Darnold lit it up. And they're so pissed off that they know deep down in parties that they don't want to talk about it. They need me on that wall, Lloyd. They want me on that wall. They know I'm right. I mean,
at least to
what is
distance myself from this guy's takes. Well, I've been doing stuff with Q over 15 years, so it's pretty hard to
horrible?
distance myself. I love the debate, and sometimes I got to be the cool head around here. But
You
you know
are.
what?
You are. You
Look,
are.
man, you were right. You were right about Darnold. I mean, and I thought he was going to flop. So you know what? You get your flowers this week. I mean,
No, I mean, that's
hopefully,
for a while.
in the biggest stage, he doesn't revert back. He didn't want to talk about his past and everything like
And
that.
who does? No one likes to talk about their past. Let the man live. Let him live.
Uh, it's going to be a fun 2 weeks. That's all they're going to be talking about him, and
Yeah.
but Drake May's quietly in a corner. He's trying to be the new Tom Brady. All about business
It's
and
well,
all
that's a
that.
hell of a job, by the way. But I mean,
I
let's
mean,
again, you lose 14 games and then you turn around, you win 14 games. That's pretty incredible, is it not?
it is, and Vrabel's come there. He's brought that toughness, that steadiness, that organization, and they're hitting on all cylinders. And some people may say they're too conservative in terms of their play calling, and they throw some passes here and there to digs, but you know they're just trying to win, and
Yeah.
they don't care how they get it done.
All right, brother. You're gonna be on tonight at 8.
I Yes. Yes,
All
so
right,
Lloyd Vance Insider Football tonight on SR 1029 Game, Coast Sports Digital Network. And
there you go.
yeah,
That's a shameless
everybody stay
plug.
warm. It's cold out there. So,
Did you guys get hit with a lot of snow?
yeah, about 14 inches where I live.
What? Are you kidding me?
No, a lot of shoveling.
What? You got the kid. I mean, come on, man. He's got time enough to come on and heckle me.
I know. Well, that's the one in college. Shouldn't help out the old man. You know what I mean?
That's
But
what
I
I'm
did have
saying.
his younger brother out there shoveling.
There you go.
There we go.
That's etiquette. All right, brother. I appreciate
All
you,
right,
man.
guys. Have a
All
good
right.
one. See ya.
All right. You got it. There you have it. My guy, Lloyd fans. Matty Ice chimes in. Q, I'm ecstatic being a Seattle Seahawks fan. I'm loving what Darnold's done. Respect to him. The guy's just hung around. He's turned around his career against all the naysayers. Yeah, he did a good. Listen, Darnold. It's a good story. It's a good story. Why can't we feel good for guys like that? Everyone turns around. They want the other shoe to drop. Blah blah blah. Marty Ball chimes in. Q, did you see your man solitary Stephen A said that the Steelers should have hired Ryan Clark? Oh my God! Stop! 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 What do we got here? How about my man Johnny Mack? Interviews don't equal offers. When the Eagles talk with someone and they take a job elsewhere, it doesn't mean they've turned down the job in Philly. When candidates withdraw more often than not, that's code for they understand they're not getting the job, and that's a league wide practice. Huh. I mean, that's not breaking news, right? It's how they operate it. If a guy interviews for 4 friggin' hours and you get 30 to 40 seconds of valuable information, then guess what? All of a sudden we're going to sit there and say that interview is basically it's almost like a BS fraudulent interview, right? They know within 30, I would say a couple minutes if they're going to hire the guy, right? But there's a reason, and this is all about the Eagles, by the way. There's a reason why some of these teams are basically not, not hiring these guys, or some of these guys are pulling their names out. That's all. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That unbelievable. On that 60 in the book, 60 to play. We got to take a timeout. I mean, it's 5 o'clock. Let's argue Jordan or Pippen. 5 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. Quick timeout. John Bueller from Fansided in a couple moments. Keep it locked in. You guys are very chippy today. Very, very chippy. All right, 5 o'clock straight up, 16 to books, 60 to play with. Well, yes, you guys are out, by the way. It's a Monday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. You guys are beyond chippy today. You are. You guys are so annoyed. You're so you're taking it out on me because Sam Darnold played well. You're taking it out on me because Sean Payton made the correct call and it didn't go his way. You're taking it out on me because the Eagles don't have an offensive coordinator. You guys are cranky. You've probably been cooped in the house all weekend long dealing with the snow. I mean, come on. You got Netflix, you got Amazon, you got Paramount, you got AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, you got a little Three Brooks bourbon, you got a little hot toddy, you got a little fresh roasted coffee. Maybe you guys have significant others, maybe a little, a little loving, kissing, caressing. I don't know. On a Saturday afternoon before the games. I mean, something to light a spark. I don't know what the hell happened. Chippy. I mean, it's not even like the fun kind of chippy. It's like the anger, the venom that I'm seeing today. I'm coming on the air, calm, cool, collective, happy. energetic, right? No angry Q, no Woosah Wednesday Q, just coming on, just being a gentleman. And you guys are just beyond chippy, like feisty, just the anger, the venom today. I'm telling you, some of you guys, listen, you need to just go and hug the missus, kiss the missus, the mistress, the girlfriend, the spouse, the significant other. Have a little loving, have a little fun, right? Watch Netflix, watch The Rip, watch Homeland, something. Man, I'll tell you, jeez. I mean, it's just the nastiness on this day. As we welcome John Moore from fans. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. All of a sudden, they just went into just attack mode about 20 minutes in. Well, I would say about 10 minutes in, because I turned around and I had no problem, even though it failed, no problem with Sean Payton go for it on fourth down. But I will ask you as we break down the games. Let's start with the AFC Championship game. What say you on that decision by Sean Payton?
I'm good with Sean Payton making that decision and thinking he's right for making that decision and coming up short, because never let it down. He's the former Saints coach, so I'm kind of happy to see very low scoring game happen there in Foxborough, but not Foxborough. It was in Denver. Never mind. I've been inside, Rich. I don't even know what planet I'm on right
That's
now.
what I'm about to say. Maybe the snow's getting to you.
A little bit.
Is New England? I mean, look, there's so many different schools of thoughts, right? To the play design and or the play call, and you're right. Some of these guys overanalyze. I mean, Lloyd and I were just talking about it. I think multiple chances Denver probably had to winning that game and putting it out of way. I don't know if we can sit here on a Monday and say, well, if Bo Nix is playing that game, they're easily winning that game. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know how a football game kind of unfolds. But when you look in New England, can you recall a team, and do we have to kind of have a little check mark against them? The type of a run is a run, 9-0, right, on the road. But I pulled it up, and I just want to read this off to you. Ready? Here's their path. Dolphins, Panthers, Saints, Titans, Bills, Browns, Falcons, Bucks, Jets twice, Cincy, Giants, Ravens, Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Jarrett Stidham. That's their path to the Super Bowl. Now, it's not your fault, right, who you play at the end of the day. But do you look at this Patriots team and say, yeah, they're not your typical sexy kind of pick coming out of the AFC, right? They haven't earned it.
Look, nobody in the AFC earned it, and they were probably the most steady team the whole way through. So I'll give them credit there. They're incredibly well coached. This is a team that was terrible the last 2 years. They've got it figured out with Mike Vrabel, and Drake May, and everything like that. You go win on the road in Denver, and even though the weather was a huge factor there towards the end, I'll give them credit that they were able to go out there and do this. But I'm really trying to think here, Rich. What's the most finesse path to the Super Bowl you can ever remember? What team that got there? You're like, are they really a Super Bowl team? And honestly, I'm struggling to even think of one team, because there's been some teams out there that we don't think are great. Maybe the 08 Cardinals, but they were 9-7. And they had to fight their way through the NFC to get there. So
yeah, they played a team that was 9-6-1 in the NFC Championship, the Philadelphia Eagles. When the Eagles won the first time around and they beat New England, I mean, look, they played the Falcons at home. They blew out Minnesota in the NFC Championship, but they beat New England. Now, if New England turns around and they beat Seattle, because they're a big underdog, right? Forget about what the betting line's saying. Then we can sit there and say, okay, we give you your just due. That Tampa Raiders Super Bowl, and I'm a Giants fan. That 2000 Giant team went 12-4. They beat the Eagles. That was a Seahorn pick. The NFC Championship, Minnesota didn't score one friggin' point. And then they got their doors blown off. They would have actually been the only team in Super Bowl history to get shut out if it's not for Ron Dixon, right? So I can't really, I don't know. You can't fault them for playing who's on their schedule. It is kind of my point. At the end of the day, if this is your team, or it's the Bills, or or Jacksonville or the 49ers or the Cap, or the Raiders. No one's going to sit there and if you're winning the Lombardi Trophy, you win the Super Bowl, no one really cares how you got it, is
Right.
kind of my point.
Yeah, this is a consequence of playing like a third or fourth place schedule in the AFCs. It's Buffalo's fault for not being better, and then obviously we kind of knew that the Jets were going to probably have some struggles. I think you and I were kind of very much down on Miami this year.
Yeah.
I think they kind of overachieved amid perpetual chaos, but New England, I thought, was going to win around 10 games this year. They were better than this. I think that they took advantage of a lot of teams that, were worse coached. And again, I'll give them credit for that, for being incredibly tight and focused and everything like that. But you're going up against a team that's tighter and more focused and more talented than you in Seattle. And they don't have to travel as far as you do to the Super Bowl.
Does it really make it look worse? Think about Josh Allen, right? Now you're talking about a guy that's kind of had a scratch and claw going through the Baltimore Ravens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes of the world. And then here you go, in comes Drake May. Oh, let me just kind of, get right in. That's why I thought the AFC and this this opportunity this season. I know Joe Burrow, mind you, and Cincinnati, man, it's a different. I think there's a different appeal to this game if it's a Buffalo versus a Rams squad or Buffalo versus Seattle squad. But I'm telling you, if you're a Bills fan, you're probably kicking yourself right now thinking, oh my goodness, yeah, we could have easily, went to New England, or we could have went to Denver and we could have won that game.
100%. This was your big.
Well, even though they didn't, I should say, but you know what I'm saying, right?
100%. Yeah, this was their big opportunity to take advantage of Kansas City, being on the downturn.
Yeah.
The Bengals definitely being on the downturn, and then clearly Baltimore being in a state of very rare chaos, and you didn't take advantage of that. And it'll be interesting to see who Buffalo hires as head coach. I think the betting favorite right now is Brian Daboll. So you and I would both say good luck with that.
What about Kubiak? I think that's the name they're waiting to see.
I thought he might be tied to the Raiders potentially. I think, maybe depends on, do you want to link up with Fernando Mendoza and have Ashton Genty and in your backfield and throwing the ball to Brock Bowers? So maybe the Raiders is a little bit more in play than you would think. But look, if it's not Kubiak, maybe it's Daboll, and maybe you regret moving on from Sean McDermott. Although I'd probably say it was time to kind of do that. You could only squander so much of this guy's prime with Josh Allen. Like, you got to make a decision. Does Josh Allen want to be Dan Marino, or does he want to be John Elway? He's got to figure this out here soon, because New England's back, man, and New England's not particularly great, but they're going to be getting better. And it only took 3 years. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about it, which gives hope to a lot of these teams with young quarterbacks, right? And defensive-minded kind of head coaches. You have the pieces in place. Also, other teams get older, divisions get weaker. We talked a lot about Payton going for it, not going for it, and then you look at McVay, and here's a guy that everyone claims is a genius. Invented the game of football. Okay, well, you had a couple opportunities to go for two. You didn't. You had a couple opportunities for a challenge. You didn't. I thought he froze up in the big spot. Look, I've been a Sam Darnold, a ardent Sam Darnold, staunch Sam Darnold defender. I'm glad that he played well yesterday. Good for Sam Darnold. But the Rams also had opportunities to win that game. Their special teams has been an issue all season long. It bit them in the ass yesterday. But I think kind of my focus is on McVay, and maybe a little bit the bloom is off the rose a little bit with McVay, because he did not have a very good Sunday.
No, when you're playing a divisional opponent who knows you as well as the Seahawks do, and maybe there is some notion that maybe the bloom is off the rose, but if you're on the road and you're playing a team kind of as the underdog, you kind of got to play with a little bit more extra confidence. Like I said, you got to go for two. You got to make things happen, particularly when you know that you are less than average in special teams. And at this stage of the game, you can't be deficient in really one area of the ball, because if you are, the better teams are going to exploit you. The more cohesive teams like the Seahawks, the more well-coached teams like the Patriots, they're going to figure it out when you don't do that.
That was my whole point. That's my whole point. So if you kick a field goal, you cut the lead to one. It's pointless, right? Because they touched the ball one time after that. When you're down 11 and you score, that's where you go for two.
Yeah, yeah, you got to do that. Just like you got to create your own luck in this situation. This isn't like Sean McVay's never climbed the mountaintop before. He's done this before. And he's done it, as what he's won a Super Bowl as a 4 seed. Like this isn't insurmountable territory for him. In Seattle, like they're new to this. They're the 1 seed, but like again, you got to make things happen here, particularly against a divisional opponent. And the fact that they didn't do that, he's going to regret some of the decisions he made over the weekend for weeks to come, for sure.
You mentioned the Buffalo Bills job. I mean, I thought it was a joke that they interviewed Phillip Rivers. McDaniel withdrew his name, so now he's officially the Chargers' new offensive coordinator. And it looks multiple sources are saying that Udinski is eyeing the head coaching job for Buffalo, and now he withdraws from the Cleveland Browns head coaching search. So I feel as though a lot of these names, we're kind of tossing them around in the hat. You still got Kingsbury out there. Mike McCarthy going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everyone's clowning me because I was like, yeah, I have no problem. He's going to be the Giants head coach. And then, of course, John Harbaugh becomes available. But I don't know what you're going to get from him. I feel as though they're going to turn around and kind of beg Aaron Rodgers to come back, as crazy as it sounds. But out of all the teams right now, we're talking about some of these head coaching vacancies that are still left in the NFL. I mean, some of these spots, you think, okay, what's taking so long? Is it really the Kubiak, kind of the other shoe to drop with Kubiak?
I would probably say so. Again, I don't know what's going on in Cleveland or Arizona at this time. Maybe that's more in line with Kubiak being like, okay, maybe I want Buffalo, maybe I want the Raiders. There's obviously appeal to those two jobs. Like you can sell a prospective head coach like that and Kubiak like, okay, I want either of those gigs. And I think he's not going to become available until after Super Bowl Sunday here. So maybe that's holding that up. But like with the Browns, like you're going to end up hiring your next version of Rob Shazinski or Mike Pettin, and it's just going to kind of be a disaster. Again, you let Stefanski out of the building. I understand it ran its course, but like, could you really done better than him given the situation? Clearly, it's looking like that's not going to be the case. And then Arizona, I think there's just some ownership issues right now with Bidwell, wondering if he's going to invest fully into the team like he probably should, even though he may not do that.
It's interesting, too, because we always talk about head coaching opportunities and some of these candidates, these coordinators that are on the rise. Well, if you kind of read the tea leaves, here's a guy in Chris Shula, and their defense just gave up 31 points. And apparently he didn't interview very well when he interviewed for the Steelers head coaching job. So one bad, NFC, AFC championship game or playoff game, your stock goes down. And then you turn around, you look at a guy like, Kubiak to me is going to be sought after. Now, again, Cleveland quarterback situation, Arizona quarterback situation, who am I leaving out? The Raiders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kubiak to the Bills makes the most sense.
There is one concern that I have heard about Kubiak. There's been some questions if he can really command a rim. Apparently, he's kind of very monotone, kind of a bland personality. And we know guys that can like really coach up offense, but if you can't galvanize, like you got to relate to everybody in the locker room. We've seen a lot of really offensive gurus get eaten alive. So I wonder if that's something that's potentially bubbling through the surface. But again, he may have had his pick of the litter of all these jobs. So I've just heard that.
What about Davis Webb? That's a name that's also being tossed around a little bit. He's very close with Josh Allen. I mean, can that be kind of like a dark horse for Buffalo?
I wouldn't rule that out. This is a guy that has played the position at a relatively high level, former college star, been in the NFL, and I think it kind of seems like more in line with what Allen wants. Is he kind of wants like a peer? We've seen that kind of work there in Los Angeles with McVay and Stafford. So like it's happened before to a lot of success. We'll see if it happens again, but I wouldn't rule that out there. I mean, I'm blanking on how to say the guy's name. Shilhasi, I think the guy who played at
With
quarterback.
the Rams pass. It's his second interview with Cleveland.
Yeah, I remember he played at Illinois back in the day and everything like that. So, I think being a young up and coming offensive mind guy who's played quarterback, at a program or some level that we know, like you can sell that to an offensive minded team, particularly like a quarterback as well, because I think that's part of what the appeal was with Doug Peterson back in the days. Like, oh, he's played the quarterback, he's been a
Sure.
backup, he knows
Yep.
the position here, and I think at this stage of the game, I think that can work in your favor potentially. So no, I'm not ruling out Davis Webb getting an opportunity. It might happen.
Yeah, and the fact that they flew him out, talking about Shiel Hase,
Mhm.
Nate. I don't want to butcher his name because I have a tendency to do that. But you're right. Young guy, flew him out. Official second interview, right? And at the time, I think that's when um, the other the name's escaping me. Udinsky dropped out, so he's interviewed for Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Raiders. Obviously, the Ravens with Jesse Minter, which I like. The Steelers now with Mike McCarthy. I think ultimately the Raiders are probably going to look at a guy like Davis Webb or Clint Kubiak, and then Buffalo might get stuck holding the bag here if Cleveland moves quickly with this kid, and then you got Arizona. I mean, it's just, if I'm a young coordinator and I mention those landing spots, to me, it's got to be Buffalo. You got a quarterback in their prime.
Yeah, you've got Josh Allen, but apparently you've also got to deal with Terry Pagula, who's apparently a little bit more of a loose cannon than we ever anticipated. I mean, he owns the Sabres. That's the worst team in the NHL. Penn State's been a
Well,
little
he
bit
didn't
chaotic.
handle himself very well in that press
No,
conference. Either did
no.
the GM. I mean, they really kind of, you're basically burying a kid that you drafted because he's been a bust thus far. That's only 22, 23 in Coleman. And if I'm that kid, I'm thinking, I don't want to play for this organization. He's appeasing his GM. They're going back and forth. You're throwing the head coach under the bus. Then you're saying because your franchise quarterback tiered, that was the last straw, and you get rid of the head coach, who, oh, by the way, won a lot of games, albeit he was 8-8 in the playoffs. But that's right at this moment, I look at that franchise and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you've got questionable ownership right now. All four jobs that are still available have ownership that's like been dinged at before. We've talked about Bidwell, we've talked about Haslett, we've talked about Mark Davis ad nauseum, and Buffalo is the best job right now of those four because you have Josh Allen. But the general manager hasn't always left it in the best spot. There's some turmoil, there's some doubt there, but look, I think that they'll probably get the best candidate of whoever's available. It remains to be seen where they're leaning and who wants to go there.
When you look at this Super Bowl, I understand it's not the the sexiest kind of Super Bowl, but we've kind of been debating already. It's only Monday if there's going to be a lot of eyeballs to this game. I think there are. I think no matter what, there are people that hate the Patriots. They want to see the Patriots lose. They like the Sam Darnold story. They might not like Seattle, but they're going to watch regardless. I mean, you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the sexiest, what is this right now? About a 3.5, 4?
Yeah, we'll find our ways to convince it. It's a 6.5 in the next couple of weeks and stuff like that. But it doesn't have the same juice from a national perspective as we'd want. It's a Super Bowl matchup that we've seen before. Obviously with the Russell Wilson and the Malcolm Butler play from like what 12, 14 years ago. I can't do math right now. It's late in the day, but I think there's intrigue there. You mentioned it with Sam Darnold. I think that there's some upside with Drake May as well. I think the fact that Seattle's been the best team in the NFC all season long. New England's been the most steady in the AFC. I also think you've got two head coaches that I think people are really starting to really look at very seriously. It's like, are these some of the very best in the game? Look, I think Vrabel's been a known commodity. The Titans will never recover from letting him go. And then obviously Mike McDonald's, I don't even know if he's 40 yet. And he's a guy that like came up through the Harbaugh regime, both in Michigan and then in Baltimore, from my neck of the woods there here in the Metro Atlanta area. I think that when whoever wins the Super Bowl between Seattle and New England, we're going to be looking at the head coach. It's like, you know what? This guy might be on McVay level here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, hopefully he doesn't have his gaff like McVay did on Sunday. Before I let you get out of here, I'm sure you just kind of put a bow on everything that happened with college football, looking ahead, obviously, to the Super Bowl with the podcast and everything.
Yeah, college football stuff. We got the transfer portal fallout there. Just a wacky, weird season. And my colleague Cody Williams and I, we did an episode about Stranger Things, just because, we live in the upside down because Indiana won a college football playoff, so that was wild. Then obviously with the Super Bowl, he's going to be going to Santa Clara covering it, so I'll kind of be manning the post there a little bit there for the time being. And as far as the Falcons are concerned, trying to figure out what Stefanski is going to do building up his staff. Still waiting to see who our general manager is going to be and try to convince ourselves that, Falcons football is not going to be the same sub 500 crap for the next decade. That's what's
right. Well, I mean, listen, that's the beauty of having the off season. You look forward to the next season, you can always hope. And then you watch a team like New England go from where they went, and that gives you more a glimmer of hope. But all right, brother, appreciate you being flexible with the schedule and everything. We'll definitely break down the Super Bowl next week. Greatly appreciate a couple of moments, pal. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you. See you later.
All right, there you have it, my guy, John Bueller. Good stuff. Got a lot of comments coming in, by the way. I don't know, for some reason, you guys are fixated on a couple things on this Monday. The offensive coordinator position, or the lack thereof right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's alarming. All I'm going to say is that, do with the information that I give you as you may, right? And I have no idea what's actually being reported as accurate or not, if that makes sense. I never thought Mike Kafka was going to be the answer. He's not a good offensive coordinator. I don't believe it's going to be Brian Daboll. I think he wants a head coaching gig. And if anything, he'd be more enticed by going to Buffalo. Look, you guys can sit there and use the phrase, they're casting a wide net. That's fine. But there's also got to be a reason. You can throw at me, well, they're withdrawing their names because they know they never stood a chance. I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree with that. I don't. Now, you have an interview, within 5-10 minutes, you take the interview to take the interview because it goes on your resume, right? Your body of work. You can interview well, you can interview poorly, you can leave a good impression. Understand all of that. McDaniel's gone, right? Minter's gone. Kubiak's not taking the Eagles offensive coordinator job. He wants a head coaching gig. Daboll wants a head coaching gig. So I don't know if it's a Sirianni thing. I don't know if it's a Jalen Hurts thing. I don't know if it's just the dichotomy of the dynamic. I have absolutely no idea. But all I've been saying is when it comes to this franchise at this moment, it's just not a good look. It's not. Luca Brasi, I heard that movie was horrible. Come on, stop. Horrible. I mean, flowing. Real estate next to power substation now to see if they're hazard. Listen, all I'm saying is this. I'm saying at this moment, I would kind of just pump the brakes on a lot of stuff. That's all. Pump the brakes on, this is going to be a bad Super Bowl. Pump the brakes on Sam Darnold's going to turn into a pumpkin. Pump the brakes on, the next great head coaching mind out there. You just never know what's going to happen. Now, I took two other things away this weekend, and I'm not sure if you guys caught it or you guys actually even care. So I thought Romo just had a horrible broadcast. The more I listen to Tom Brady, it's clear like Tom Brady actually takes his craft very serious. He's simple. He's got charisma. He simplifies it, but yet goes in depth. Doesn't talk over Burkhardt. Lets the play breathe. Doesn't giggle every other time. Shows a little juice, a little life in the broadcast. And then You got Romo that, honestly, with all due respect, for the money that CBS is paying him, he's got his head up his ass. He really does. He's got his head up his ass. Like, I don't understand. You trying to be too cute for the room every single solitary time. Like, you can have a third down, a fourth down call, and all of a sudden Romo's chuckling. Like, I'm sorry. This whole idea, to me, Brady does a great job. He does an exceptional, like, you listen to Brady talking about, a little twitchy move, great job maintaining your shoulder plane, running around. And then Romo sits there and says, "Hey, Jim, I think it's going to snow a little harder." Like, come on. What are we doing here? Paying him how much money? And I get it. You guys, you don't care about who's broadcasting. I do it for a living. I listen to the broadcast. I do. I listen to it. But he's become such a caricature and a character. He's one of the worst analysts on TV. He really is. It's like listening to sometimes sports talk radio callers. It's bad. Like, Brady just comes out, talks about the route, boom, boom, boom. Don't get over the top. Here you go. Shoot the shoulder. Here you go. Little wiggle, little waggle, little twitch. Boom. Romo's like, "Oh, yeah, did you see the Denver Broncos horse?" I mean, come on. And it's bad because he's a hard listen. He really is. And he's so knowledgeable. And I don't know what happened. Remember, before, he was clairvoyant. He can see the plays before they happen. And now it's like he's just like, to me, Nance is kind of like riding solo. It would have been a painful listen to have CBS on the call for the Super Bowl. It really would. It really would. Wayne chimes in, "I'm so thankful Roma's here to remind us that the weather, this game, the tension, the other day, the blitz packages, it's all real, Q. It's all real. It's not fake." Oh, my goodness. Snooky chimes in, "Q, get him the hell out of the booth," as you would say. Get him out. Yes, I would think so. But they're paying him a lot of money. They're paying him a lot of money. What's it, 180 million? I just don't know what happened, right? Here in Denver, sports talk experts calling for new wide receiver, new tight ends, running back, saying that Payton's draft needs to improve. My God, Broncos are building, had a great year, and they go after Payton. So let me ask you something. What are they saying about the decision to go for it on fourth down, which I said in the 4:00 hour was the right decision, but poor play call? I'm curious. What are the pundits out there? What are the sports talk experts saying? Brady is improving. Romo thinks he's smarter than the players. He's not. He's goofy. Cree 100% Q. Brady is on the up. Romo is just an egomaniac. Brady is believable. He won 7 rings. Romo, nada, nunca, nothing. Zilch, niet. Plus, Brady is single, and we want to know what supermodel he's with. Yeah, he's dating some young girl. I think Romo is jealous of Brady. He's trying too hard to. What makes you say that? You think Romo sits there and stalks Tom Brady on his social, on his IG? The decision is being poo-pooed by the expert. Really interesting. Well, I gave you my take. I gave you my breakdown on why I would have went for it. 14-0 wins that game. 14-0, that's pretty much all she wrote. Plus, they ran the ball very well during that drive. But I am curious to hear what the experts are saying. Skull chimes in, Q, did you see that Paul Allen's off the air? I don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't care about that crap. That's MSNBC, that's Fox, that's CNBC. I don't give a shit about that stuff. I don't talk that kind of stuff on the air. I read the comment, my mistake, whatever. I'm not, I've interviewed Paul Allen, he's a good play-by-play voice, and I just leave it at that. The other stuff, I don't get involved in that kind of nonsense. I think sometimes people think, even though there is freedom of speech, they have a tendency to say stuff, and then when there's backlash, either walk it back, run away from it, or honestly, just say, yeah, I said it, deal with it. And sometimes, we don't do that. And that's the problem. We don't do that. Now, I'm not also going to sit there and be the woke culture, right? Because everyone wants, when somebody says something, especially the talking heads, get them out of here, fire them. I've heard worse. I mean, you listen to a rat ship and all they do is race bait. But yet you're paying people a substantial amount of money to be on the mothership, the rat ship, to say stuff that's not even factually true. Like there's where the problem is. So yeah, the other stuff I don't even get involved with. I can care less. Broncos scored 10. The game is still being played. That snow squall we had for a few hours here in Denver was nuts. Yeah, it is. It is definitely is that what they call it? They call it a snow squall. Now let me ask you something. Because that's the norm out there. Like I can say this, it snowed in Jersey. We got hammered and it snowed down the shore. I was not having it. I was just not having it. It's bad. And the other thing is, I don't understand some of these friggin' goofballs. When you know the temperature is below freezing, there's no need. When snow's coming down and it's cold and it's sleet and it's like negative 36,000 degrees or whatever the hell it is, and you go out there and you know for a second your fingers are about to fall off, you don't need the shovel. For what? Nobody's going anywhere. You're not delivering friggin' mail. All I heard over the last 5 hours is people trying to start their car and they're stuck because they're goofballs. Like, you're not going anywhere. Seriously. You're not going anywhere. It's just utter madness. We all knew it was coming. Payton did too. Got to put the points up when you have a shot. All right. 3 points or 7 points. 14-0 wins that game. 14-0 wins that game. Since everyone thinks the Super Bowl is going to be a sleeper, now all of a sudden we get to talk hot stove baseball and NBA. Is that now I'm allowed to do that? Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. KC6, QD today, and he reads out Caden for Nagy to get another head coaching shot. Yeah, but he's not going to. He's not. He's going to be an offensive coordinator. He's not going to get. I don't see anyone hiring him. I don't. I know he wants to be a head coach again. I get it. You have right now entering Monday, Buffalo, Arizona, Cleveland Raiders all have head coaching vacancies. So to me, Buffalo is going to make a run at Kubiak. I don't know what the hell Arizona is doing. Maybe Cleveland hires this young kid, and I have no idea what the hell the Raiders are doing. I think the Raiders ultimately might hire Davis Webb. That's kind of my dark horse. And then you got Buffalo, and then you got Cleveland, which is run poorly, and then you got Arizona, and they've got an albatross of a contract, and Kyler Murray. That's a cheap franchise. Who the hell is going to want to take that gig? Who's going to want to take that gig? These head coaches that got fired, they're not on the same level of a Harbaugh, so they're not going to be as, courted. And the other name we haven't even brought up is Sean McDermott. I mean, Sean McDermott gets fired. We're not even bringing up Sean McDermott, right? What's the plus minus how many Super Bowl you're starting off the Super Bowl at halftime? You know what? I don't know. I think everyone's got their own cup of tea, to be honest with you. I think, when we sit there and everyone complains, the commercials, the halftime show, people forget about it like 2 days later. I get it. People have views. I totally understand it. People, you have your own views, you have your own thoughts, you have your own opinions. It's free thinking, it's free will. You are entitled to have your opinion. And there are some things in this country that some people support. There's other things in this country that some people don't support. I understand. That's why you guys tune into certain networks. You lean this way, you watch this. You lean that way, you watch that. I understand. Me, I'm an equal opportunity. Like, none of that stuff bothers me at the end of the day. It just doesn't. It really doesn't. If somebody wants to sit glued to the table and watch MSNBC for this, fine. If somebody then wants to sit there and listen to Fox, which is going to placate the POTUS, then you listen to that. Whatever. whatever is your cup of tea, that's your choice. I don't care. It does not affect me either way. I'll watch the game, I'll watch the commercials, I'll watch halftime, and that's it. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm really not. I'm really not. I want a good game. And more times than not, back in the day, the games were so bad they were blowouts. We only remember the commercials. We're funny. So, yeah, I'm sure some people are going to turn off halftime. I'm sure some people are going to turn off the anthem. I'm sure some people are going to turn off a lot of stuff. Let them. Let them. That's fine. To each his own. Really, to each his own. We're so uberly sensitive with stuff. Like, I get it. Everyone, especially when you blend in the social element, the political element, and then we mix it into sports, like our sports. You can't do this. There's no way you should be doing this. You know, we want to watch networks, sports networks, because we want to hear sports commentary. I do. I don't want to hear social commentary. I don't. And the problem is at times when you have a voice and you have a vehicle for that voice and a platform that gets hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of people, you can do some serious damage behind the microphone. And sometimes it's extremely offensive and also powerful, but yet influential. And it could be, a detriment. But I watched enough, and I've been doing this long enough to know sometimes people on the air, when they want to start going down that path, it gets pretty ugly. And when you're making a lot of money and then people don't question that, then you have free reign to say whatever you want to say. And look, we know who the culprits are on ESPN. I mean, look, I call it the rat shit for a reason. We know who the culprits are. They make a lot of money. They're the most visitable. They say a lot that, quite frankly, is just utterly ridiculous, and they never get called out because at the end of the day, networks never want to admit that they made a mistake hiring them in the first place and paying them so much friggin' money. Jet fan 6 chimes in Q, loving the show, catching you for the second time. Oh, I appreciate that. I don't know when the first one was, but I do have a question. Do you think Darnold was a cast-off, or the Jets just figured the kid could never play? Interesting. So by definition, he's a cast-off. But I also believe that Darnold got a raw deal in New York. And if you go back to listen to what Joe Douglas said, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas wanted to keep Sam Darnold and trade down. Woody Johnson wanted Zach Wilson. Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl. Oh, by the way, Tommy DeVito's in the Super Bowl too. But think about it. Like, the best thing that the Jets did for Sam Darnold was get him off the Jets. That was the best thing they could have done for him. And Sam Darnold's not even 30 years old. He's only 28. That's what makes it so fascinating. Look, Sam Darnold, when he got drafted, everyone looked at him, a Jets fan, USC, first round, third overall draft pick. They thought he was going to be the savior. And I remember the game against Detroit. He was slinging, I think, a long pass for his first completion. And everyone was going batty. Everyone was going crazy. And then he got hurt. He got banged up. Bad offensive line. Started seeing ghosts. Had the mono. Didn't feel well. Lost weight. Never really got it going. Never really got it going. And you go to the game in 2019. They open up the season against the Buffalo Bills. The Jets are basically, they got 16, 17-point lead. You're midway through the third. You had a bunch of takeaways, and then boom, they lose 17-16. And that's when everyone came out and we heard about the reports about Demano. And then he missed a couple games. And then he had a couple of good games. And he didn't play poorly that season. He threw for over 3,000 yards, close to 20 touchdowns, right? But you just knew the writing was on the wall because they're so impatient. And then the next season, again, got banged up, got hurt, The shoulder injury, returned, got banged down again, got hurt. The inconsistency, the interceptions, never a good thing. And that's when they decide we're going to trade him. And they gave up on Sam Darnold. They gave up on Sam Darnold. You just can't even debate that. He had a cup of coffee with the Jets. He played a couple seasons with the Jets, and then they just cast him off, traded him to Carolina. And then if you think about when he was at Carolina, they gave up. So you're talking the Jets drafted Sam Darnold, 3rd overall. They traded him to Carolina for a 6th-round pick, a 2nd, and a 4th-round pick. Think about that for a moment. This guy was running the scout team with Baker Mayfield. And he was a backup. And he was a backup the next season. And then he went to the 49ers. And the 49ers wanted to sign him. They wanted to re-sign him. The best thing that happened to Sam Darnold was to have that little cup of coffee with the 49ers because he grew as a quarterback. He matured as a quarterback. He matured as a man. He got great experience. And that's because, you're learning under a guy like Shanahan. We know the 49ers are a smoothly run franchise. So now you're sitting in these quarterbacks room, and what do you got to be? You got to be meticulous. You got to have attention to detail. You got to have your notepad, your playbook, your clipboard. He's learning. He wasn't going to get that in Carolina, and he wasn't going to get that with the Jets. So he comes with Minnesota. He signs a ridiculously, a low risk to potentially high reward contract with Minnesota. It was 1 year for, I think, $9 or $10 million. He plays lights out. And why? Because he's given the opportunity because J.J. McCarthy went down. And Sam Darnold grabbed it. And then you knew he was going to want money. Minnesota made the mistake. They should have re-signed him. They didn't. And he goes to Seattle and he cashes in. He's already give the Seattle Seahawks a return on their investment. So you sit there and say, cast off. I say the Jets gave up on him. And we see that way too many times. We see that way too many times in the NFL. Way too many times. It's like anything. It's like anything in life. Sometimes people are just late bloomers. That's it. It's like that struggling actor, man. He's waiting tables, and everyone sits there and says, you know what? You're talented. You just need a break. And he's 25 and he's 30 and he's 35. All of a sudden, the right person notices him. He has an audition and he crushes it. Like anything else. Anything else in life, any type of walk of life, man, like in relationships, you can be like the awkward kid and all of a sudden you blossom junior year to senior year, second year in college, or all of a sudden you get that job and you have confidence after you graduate. And now you got confidence to go to that person who you never had confidence before and you were shy and you couldn't ask them out. And now you're married. Like some people it clicks at certain points of their life. And it's the same thing in sports. And a lot of these franchises, they make these knee-jerk reactions because they want to win right away. They have to win right away. Because if I don't win right away, my job's on the line. That owner's going to fire me as head coach. I'm a GM. I'm going to get fired by the head coach. But a guy like Sam Darnold, and we've seen it, Baker Mayfield, cast off. Got hurt. See ya. Thanks for nothing, Cleveland. Now he's turned his career around. Even Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith didn't have a very good season this past season with the Raiders, but Geno Smith turned his career around with who? Seattle, because he had the right coaching staff. Darnold's in a great spot. He learned valuable information from the 49ers, and while everyone was mocking him, saying, he's a backup against Sam Darnold, what the hell? He quietly went about his business and he observed. He did more watching and less speaking. And usually the smart people tend to do that. And he learned. And he absorbed information. And then he finally came into his own at 27 last year with Minnesota. I mean, if you're the Vikings, think about this. You win 14 games. Your quarterback has a, resurgent, right? He has a career year. Okay, he struggled that Sunday night game. Okay, he struggled in the playoffs, but the body of work showed you got a franchise quarterback. You got a franchise quarterback, and it's unfortunate because in the NFL, we always tag losses to the quarterback. So when the quarterbacks win, we give them too much credit. When the quarterback lose, we really pile on them. Same case, Sam Darnold. It's just he's the the prototypical the case study. Sam Darnold. You don't think Minnesota right now is kicking themselves thinking, what the hell did we get rid of this guy for? We should have just paid him. He's a pros pro. That's all Sam Darnold is. He's a pros pro. Like, that's a guy you can cheer for. That's a guy you can root for, because the guy's basically been kicked in the nuts an entire career and spit out. Seriously, they dug the hole. They put the lime down, right? And he's like, not so fast. Couple seasons with the Jets, 2 seasons with Carolina, 10 games with San Francisco, goes to Minnesota, throws for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, and then he cashes in with Seattle. And oh, by the way, he's a win away from being a Super Bowl champ. And now follow me. He's a win away from being a Super Bowl champ. Hello? Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I mean, where are these guys? So, yeah, sometimes I just think you have to just kind of, sometimes a guy just has to kind of blossom. Jerry Times and Q, did you see the script with all the photos and then you saw Darnold and May in the front? Yeah, I saw that little clip. I mean, that's just, we're going to go conspiracy theory again. I'm sure somewhere the NFL decided Bo Nix get hurt. I'm somewhere along the NFL decided, hey, Sean, do me a favor, go for it in this situation. I mean, the conspiracy theorists are absolutely wild with your takes. The NFL rigged and scripted. Stop. I'll tell you who you should blame. You should blame the Simpsons, because the Simpsons always get it right. Simpsons always get it right when it comes to who's going to be the next president, who's winning the Academy Award, and who's winning the Super Bowl. So I like how, you look at this preseason graphic that's like 6 months old, and now everyone sits there and says, oh my God, Super Bowl 60, it's scripted. I should have known this. Well, if that's the case, then, anytime you see these little mock drawings and these graphics, take your life savings, zoom in, see which uniform is clear, which uniform's in the front. That tells you who's going to win, and put your life savings on that team. Go ahead. Go ahead. I thought it was interesting, though, that Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Saquon Barkley were in the foreground. And the 2 players that were closest to the stadium were Sam Darnold and Drake May. Oh, man, you guys are wild. And you're talking about, someone that is a big time conspiracy theorist. I'm telling you, blame the Simpsons, because every year they figure it out. They always figure it out. They do. I don't even know how they do it. I mean, they basically were predicting Trump's presidency. They were talking about tech, the smartwatches, right? I mean, it's you go to the one with Lisa's wedding, and it basically gave you jokes that are relevant now. They did the same thing with the World Cup. Remember, remember the one when they were every year, I guess Homer had the little banners, and he opened it up and it was like Denver, and he's like, oh, Denver again, because you knew Denver wasn't winning back in the day, right? But this is what they do. They predict. They always predict who's going to win the Super Bowl. So blame them. The NFL should have a problem with the Simpsons. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And the interesting thing is, and it stinks because Denver didn't get in, but they did predict Denver to beat Seattle. And I had Denver defeating Washington. So, and Washington's not in. But listen, for the more times than not, they're pretty much Johnny on the spot, the Simpsons. So, Q, one of your texters, commenters mentioned that Smashing show. Was that the wrestling movie? I think it was. Was that, what is that called? The Smashing Machine, right? The Smashing Machine. Who's in that? Oh, is that the Dwayne Johnson? The Rock's in that one? Huh. I started to watch The Rip last night. I put Homeland on pause. So I got an hour left of The Rip. And I'm very excited because I just saw who's cast in Heat 2. Unbelievable. Stacked. Absolutely stacked. The actors and actresses. So you got the prequel, the sequel, and then you got the scope. It's going to be unbelievable. That was I can't believe there are some people I know that never really watched that movie in its entirety. I feel bad for you. One of the greatest shootout scenes in movie history. DiCaprio's in this. Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Adam Driver, right? The gorgeous Cuban actress. You guys know that I like. She's in it, right? Ana de Armas. Oh, beautiful. Bellissimo. So, yes. So, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So I got to finish the rip, and then I have to finish Homeland. I have a season and a half left of Homeland. And then I'm going to start binge watching. I got to go back to the old school classics. I'll go back to Entourage, go back to a little Lost. What is this? This is what I'm saying. It's unbelievable. We went on it. See, this is, Michael, you said it, right? Great points, telling it like it is. You said it. The haters are out in full force today, and here we go. 4-6. We're about to wrap it up. I was just talking about the rip. You know, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, right? The Rip. Good movie. Good movie. I'll watch it again just to aggravate you guys. All right. Good stuff from Lloyd Vance. Appreciate him jumping on board. John Bueller as well. We will be back in the saddle mañana. A little power hour on a Tuesday. So we got some overseas broadcasts. Oh, by the way, I actually had some of you guys tuning in at 2 a.m. the other day when I was calling the Warriors Thailand. You guys were commenting in. You guys are fantastic. The fact that you guys were up at that time impresses me, but yet also scares me. But I still appreciate it. So, all right, don't forget, special thanks to our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Three Brooks Bourbon, Get Ready with Tea, Played Against Sports. They were closed today because of the weather. Check out the hours online, 2 locations, Deptford and Mount Laurel. You guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. You can hold your conspiracy theories for tomorrow as well. A little power hour on a Tuesday. Yeah, we'll talk a little NBA. We'll talk a little hot stove baseball as well. Joey, thank you, my friend. And thank you for actually giving me the accurate definition of a snow squall. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, excellent. Yeah, don't ruin it for me. I got a season plus, Jeff. I got a season plus left. Even though the more I watch, you know, her character's starting to annoy the hell out of me, but that's okay. Back in the saddle manana. You guys have a good Sports Monday. If you are out and about where the snow is, stay warm, have a little hot toddy. And like I said, if you know it's freezing, no reason to go outside and shovel. Absolutely ridiculous. Just hang in, get a little loving, right? Just watch a little Netflix. You'll be good. All right, we'll be back in the saddle tomorrow. As always, Monday edition on Q. Powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check out the promo code BYP20. Save now on your first order and first purchase. All right, more football mañana, a little hot stove baseball and some NBA as well. Have a good Sports Monday. As always, be safe, be sound. I'm Rich Quinones. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Hasta luego. Buen día.